Frozen depths. Beneath the endless twilight of the Antarctic sky, the ice stretched like a shattered mirror, its jagged fractures leading into a labyrinth of frozen tunnels. Leora, a mermaid of the warm southern seas, had swum farther than any of her kind dared, driven by a longing to uncover secrets beyond the coral reefs and sunken ships of her home. She had heard whispers of the Silent Ones, ancient merfolk who had vanished into the coldest waters, never to return. Some said they had found enlightenment in the ice. Others claimed they had been swallowed by the abyss. Leora needed to know the truth, not just for them, but for herself. The journey had been punishing. The water grew colder with every league, her scales aching as a warmth strained from her blood. When she finally reached the glacial caves, she marveled at their eerie beauty, the way the ice refracted light into sapphire and emerald, the silence so deep it hummed in her bones. Then, the ice shifted. A distant groan echoed through the tunnels as the walls trembled. Before she could react, a collapse sealed the passage behind her. Trapped, panic clawed at her chest. The cold was no longer just discomfort, it was a predator, sapping her strength. Her tail, built for tropical currents, grew sluggish. The pressure of the frozen labyrinth weighed on her, and for the first time, she wondered if she had been a fool to come here. Why did I leave? She thought, her breath forming silver clouds in the water. I was safe. I was home. But then she remembered the restlessness that had driven her, the feeling that there had to be more than the familiar tides. She had wanted to prove she was more than just another mermaid drifting through life. With numb fingers, she pressed against the ice, searching for weakness. She sang, her voice vibrating through the frozen walls, hoping the sound might guide her. And then an answer. A faint, haunting melody echoed back. It wasn't her own voice. Something or someone else was in these tunnels. The spark of hope reignited her will. She wasn't just surviving. She was discovering. If the Silent Ones had endured this, so could she. Summoning the last of her strengths, Leora followed the ghostly song deeper into the ice, toward whatever truth awaited her in the frozen heart of the world. And for the first time since the collapse, she felt no fear, only purpose. Leora's heart pounded as the eerie melody guided her deeper into the labyrinth. The ice around her shimmered with an unnatural glow, as if the frozen walls themselves held secrets. Her tail, though stiff from the cold, pushed forward with renewed determination. Then she saw them. Figures, half frozen into the ice. Their long, silver hair drifting like pale seaweed in the water. Their eyes were closed, their faces serene merfolk, but unlike any she had ever seen. Their scales were translucent, shimmering like frost, and their webbed fingers were curled as if in prayer. The Silent Ones, they were not dead. Not entirely. As Leora approached, one of them stirred. A male with eyes like cracked ice slowly opened them, his gaze locking onto hers. His lips did not move, yet his voice resonated in her mind. You should not have come. Leora recoiled, but the voice continued, not unkind, only sorrowful. We sought the heart of the world, where the first tides were born. But the ice demanded a price. She understood now. The Silent Ones had not vanished, they had chosen this. They had become part of the glacier, their minds woven into the frozen currents, their voices carried in the groans of shifting ice. You are strong to have come this far. Another voice whispered, a female this time, her body encased in the wall like a living fossil. But you must decide, return to the warmth, or join us in the deep. Leora hesitated. The cold had seeped into her bones, and part of her longed to surrender, to let the ice claim her, to become one with the endless quiet. But another part, the part that had driven her here in the first place, burned brighter. I came to find myself, she thought, her own voice echoing back at her. Not to lose myself, the silent ones watched, waiting. Then a crack, a fissure split the ceiling above her, and sunlight pierced the depths like a spear. The ice groaned, shifting again, and for the first time, Leora saw a path upward. Go, the first silent one urged. Before the ice remembers you are here. With one last look at the ancient merfolk, Leora turned and swam faster than she ever had before. The tunnel narrowed behind her, the glacier sealing itself once more. When she burst through the surface, gasping under the open sky, the cold air burned her lungs. But she was alive, and she was no longer the same mermaid who had entered the ice. As she turned her face toward home, Leora knew one thing for certain. Some truths were not meant to be carried back. Some journeys were only for the soul that survived them, and hers had only just begun. The journey back to warmer waters should have been a relief. But as Leora swam north, something within her had changed. Her turquoise scales now shimmered with faint silver veins, like frost tracing across glass. When she sang, her voice carried farther than before, not just through water, but through ice, stone, even the hulls of passing ships. Sailors who heard it whispered of ghostly siren calls in the night. And then there were the dreams. Each night, Leora found herself back in the ice tunnels, floating before the silent ones. Their frozen lips never moved, yet their voices coiled through her mind like currents. You carry a piece of us now. The cold does not let go so easily. Beware the thaw. She didn't understand until the first frost bloomed on her fingertips. Leora sought out Neri, the oldest mercier in the coral reefs, whose gnarled hands could read the future in seashells and tides. Neri's milky eyes widened when she saw Leora's frost-touched scales. You've been marked, she rasped. The silent ones don't just share their knowledge, they share their curse. A curse? Leora's breath fogged the water between them. The ice is alive, Neri said. It hungers. The silent ones bound themselves to it to keep it dormant. But now that you've awakened their voices, she trailed off, clutching a blackened conch shell. The glacier is cracking, and what sleeps beneath it is stirring. Against Neri's warnings, Leora swam south again. This time, the Antarctic waters felt different, warmer. Ron! Great chunks of ice calved from the glacier, revealing yawning cavities beneath. And from those depths came a sound like 1,000 voices screaming in unison. The silent ones were no longer serene. Their frozen faces twisted in agony, their bodies fracturing as the ice around them splintered. You woke it, they wailed. The Leviathan of the frost. The water trembled. Below, in the abyss, something colossal uncoiled, a creature of razor-edged ice and ancient malice, its body woven from the frozen souls of those who had dared to challenge the deep. It saw Leora, and it remembered her. The Leviathan surged upward, its maw wide enough to swallow reefs whole. Leora knew she couldn't outswim it, but she could outhink it. Singing the melody the silent ones had taught her, she poured every ounce of her will into the notes. The Leviathan hesitated, its glacial flesh vibrating with the sound. This wasn't just a song, it was a binding. Leora swam toward the beast, her frost-lined scales blazing as she pressed her hands against its icy hide. The cold seared her skin, but she didn't pull away. You are not the master here, she whispered. I am. And then she did the unthinkable. She pulled the Leviathan's essence into herself. The world went white. When Leora opened her eyes, she was alone in the frozen tunnels once more. But now, the ice obeyed her. She could feel every crevice, every flow, as if they were extensions of her body. Her scales had turned fully silver, her hair white as snowfall. When she spoke, Her voice echoed with the weight of the Silent Ones and the Leviathan both. She was no longer just a mermaid. She was a guardian of the threshold. Years later, sailors tell stories of a silver-tailed siren who appears to lost ships in polar waters, guiding them away from the ice with a voice like frozen stars. Some say she's a ghost. Others claim she's a goddess. But Leora knows the truth. She is both less and more than either. A keeper of balance, a bridge between depths, and most of all, finally, herself. The end. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.